The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello. Check. Okay. Yeah, I don't always turn the volume on when I first get on. So how's everybody doing today? Coming off their Easter weekend, for those that celebrate Easter, a nice spring weekend if you're in the northern hemisphere. I guess it's a fall weekend in the southern hemisphere. It wasn't much of an Easter as Easters go, but every day is a great day, so still breathing. It's got to be a great day. Yeah, sorry about that. It was started with my one daughter's car, who lives in North Carolina, having some major issues. And so we were working on it Thursday night. So I'm actually trying to do something cosmetic, working on some headlight stuff. And we ran out of daylight, what should have been a 5-minute operation that we've done on other cars, just the way her Acura is made. You really have to take off the front bumper to replace the headlight mechanism. And so that and some other stuff. So she ended up at the last minute taking Dallas's car back down to North Carolina so we could get it repaired on Friday. And so it was running around with her car on Friday because she was coming back Saturday to pick it up. And then Friday afternoon, Dallas and I were doing some yard work and came upon the remnants of a rabbit nest which had 6 baby rabbits in it. From the internet, I'd say they were 2 to 3 weeks old. And we had to chase through some thick grass just to find them. Yeah, it was just in time for bunny stew. Just in time for Easter, correct. And so Saturday we were dealing with some yard issues and trying to figure out the bunnies. A local bunny rescue would only take them if they're injured or sick. But we have a waterway behind us for which on the banks there are some substantial numbers of hawks and owls that feed off frogs and little tiny things. And the nest was now exposed to such a point that if the babies were just there, they'd be easy prey for the hawks and owls. So we were trying to figure out what to do, but since they weren't sick or injured, the bunny hutch, which is this rabbit rescue, doesn't want to deal with them. And yeah, it's hawk food for sure. And other places that could help us, Fish and Game at the state level and whatnot, just, oh, they should belong with their mother. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I know I get wildlife and whatnot, but I couldn't see watching these things get picked off by predators. So we worked with them Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and then we kind of replanted the nest last night, and Mama Rabbit came within about 2 feet of it and then bolted. We weren't sure if she smelled us on the babies or not. But we looked again this morning, and there's a trail into the grass where we put it. And so we're hoping that was Mama Rabbit that came and visited them. So we'll see. My other daughter's baby yesterday had a real bad eye issue, or so she thought. And she took him to the emergency room, and it ends up he had a sinus infection. Poor thing, he's just had so much. He's picked up so much from school. And so that took all the morning to deal with, because the Children's Hospital emergency room was just crowded and packed, and that was about a 6 to 7 hour ordeal. And by the time they got home from the pharmacy, it was already 5:30, and everybody was beat. So just, that was the weekend. And I'm having a hard time, guys. I am super, super tired, and my eyes are absolutely, totally spent. I've been on monitors all day. And yeah, that's what I said. There's always something good there. So I was with family, and we did have a chance for 3 of the 4 children to be together on Thursday evening. So that's always good, when you can get the siblings together, even though there's age differences in them. And this one time I was in a trade. Sometimes you just gotta, I don't know when it'll get better. I think this week, slowly. I'm really trying to hit the organizational stuff that will allow me to gain back some time. One thing I will say, guys, is I didn't advertise today. So you guys need to do a good job at getting your peers and other traders here, because these numbers have to go up for me to keep doing these sessions. I'm just going to say it as it is. If you haven't had a chance yet, the Trader's Mindset Mastery was out over the weekend. Some people read it and absorbed it and took action on it, which is really very positive to see across the board, and many have messaged me the same. So, yeah, forget to hit the record button a few sessions, right? Oh, my lordy. Okay, listening's all we can ask for. Just make sure you don't listen and get in a car wreck. No, there's a new one. So I'll continue to say this, guys. You need to get into the Scans, Forks, and Fibos group, and you can prioritize your notifications so you always get told of things. I know when people post stuff, you get that too. But you can also go to the group and search for me by name and see anything I've posted. But I would be in there twice a day or you'll miss stuff. And, I can't make it my responsibility to make you guys not miss stuff. There's too many to track and follow. So you have to make it your personal duty. And actually, those that are asking about that, the particular session will be really good for you. Yes, there was a new one that came out. I don't know if I posted it Friday night or Saturday morning. But when we get to the podcast, it'll be a little bit more. I could force Facebook to do the same thing, but the podcast, I do have schedulers. And so the true podcast format will make it a little bit more routine and same day, same time kind of thing. But right now, it should be a checkpoint on your, I saw that comment, Dimitri. Right now, it should be a checklist on your planner. And somebody on your $10 million trading company should have responsibility for it as one of their job objectives in their job description. But it's a in your face kind of session. So if you're not ready to hear anything that might resemble that, then stay away from it. My assistant is called Google, Calendar Google. I will just say one thing, some action is better than no action, but I'll continue to remind you guys that things like journaling and affirmation work and daily review work, goals, daily goals, stuff like that, weekly goals, monthly goals, all that stuff is best to write out. I know it seems a bit repetitive, but the neuroscience studies have shown us there's a huge difference between, let's say, looking at your weekly goal in typed format versus writing it out again each day of the week. The neural network build is much stronger with manually writing things, even if it's the same thing. So while it takes a little longer, the results are a lot more beneficial. Of course. So I'm checking something for somebody here. Give me 1 second. So when you search for something, you have to remember the way Facebook works. It doesn't list it in chrono order in terms of posts. It lists it in chrono order in terms of activity. So if somebody commented on something from January 22nd and they commented on it yesterday, that floats that search to the top of the page. So if you want to find mindset mastery sessions in April, you might type mindset April and you'll see the ones in April. And again, I'll just be brutally honest. Instead of assuming you know how to search in Facebook, go watch some YouTube videos on how to search in Facebook. Yeah, you can filter, you can search on Steve Greger and then filter to most recent, but I think that still gives you my most recent comments too. Yes, Marina, your last podcast is for those who are ready to be brutally honest. Yes, it was. Oh, it post first? Okay. So there you have it. Okay. Good, good, good. I do my best to get one weekly, and sometimes I will do it Thursday and Friday, and sometimes I sit on it because I want to worry about, people leaving the group in mass quantities because because I insulted them. But most people took it with a grain of salt. Okay. So today, literally, because I've been, excuse my huffing, I'm cleaning my glasses. Because today I've been occupied all day since late last night. I haven't had much time to do an agenda like sometimes I usually do. So I'll be glad to take any questions on scans, forks, and fibos to bring clarity for you. Again, moving forward with coaches, we actually have a coaches meeting tonight. And, we're going to be talking about sessions and how we break things up. And then after we do that, we're going to be able to target trading a little bit tighter for various subsets. So pitchfork scans, harmonic wave convergence, etc. Yeah, I think most people do like to look in the mirror. They like the thought of it. Sometimes they don't like the reflection. I think that's just a human condition because I'm up for that. Our ego says, yeah, we can do it. And then we look and we say, yikes. In addition to that, look, another gray hair. So, what's holding you back? I haven't told that little story joke for a long time, Beta, but the story of the little kid in his mom's bathroom and she's putting on her wrinkle cream and he asks her what she's doing and she says, I'm putting on my wrinkle cream. And he goes, well, Mom, it must work. You got a lot of wrinkles. So, you always, little ones always come up with the brightest, with the brightest stuff. That's like when my older daughter was finally at an age where they were actually having hardback school books. And I don't remember when that was. It could have been, I don't know if it was a kid or it had to be maybe first grade, second grade, somewhere there. But she actually had a spelling book. And Courtney was so upset, and why are you so upset, Courtney? Because April got a spelling book and I want to put spells on people too. Swear to God, that was true, and it's like you just want to break out laughing. She wanted to put spells on people too. I guess she thought it was a book on witchcraft or something. Kids say the darndest things. So anyway, yeah, like honest little drunks. I like that. They speak their mind, don't they? And they don't care who's around. And you have to laugh at it. Okay. So what can I do to help you move forward with your trading? That's really the only reason I do this. Is I want to see people move forward with their trading. And I've just seen some stuff and kind of, compiled some stuff in my head, and a lot of you, I think the only thing you're lacking is the belief set. And sometimes that just comes from stronger confidence. Now, you can force a belief set, and that'll help. But if it's consciously you're forcing it on your subconscious, remember how strong the programming is in your subconscious. So you can't just, and this is why things like writing versus just repeating or looking at and reading are much more significant, because they create a stronger neural network. It will actually, in Joe Dispenza's graphics, I think Clay found it the one time I was talking about it, and he went and searched it out. He found exactly what I was talking about. His animations are pretty cool. It's got the same artists I know that are doing it time after time. But he actually showed, I believe it was actual footage, but from the looks of it. But they showed repetition, repeated programming, and actually picture of a neuron network dissolving while another one grew with the new programming. Yeah, or the monkeys in the trees. That was funny. Oh, eggs in the tadpoles. That's funny. That is also a funny story. When I took my oldest daughter to the zoo for the first time, she was probably about 4. And it was, they had this barn, and there's this big old pig, big old fat sow laying on her side in a slop pen. And there was a white, I don't know what you want to call it. It was pure spherical, like a volleyball or a kickball or something, but it was just pure white, and it was decent size, and it was laying right next to the pig. It's obviously a little pig toy. And April saw it. She goes, "Look, Dad, a pig egg." And I mean that too. I mean, there were people on all sides of us, and all these people just broke out in laughter. And she was like, came over clinging really hard, like, what did I say? So she never gets to live that one down either, a pig egg. No, you do not ever, 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 until you are absolutely ready to go live, and it's always good to seek counsel of somebody that's been working with you or sees your progress over time, when that might be. But other than that, you absolutely do not try and make any kind of goals for progress. See, here's the deal. Progress in the terms of product, trade success, a percentage such as 4% daily growth, etc. Because the number one objective of demo trading is to learn what not to do. You got to keep framing that in your head. Your ego wants to make it a test of your competency. And the more you allow the ego to win, the further you're going to get from trading. It's not about testing your competency. It's about doing what you know, but understanding the underlying, message, the underlying tone is all about your willingness and openness to learn. The example I've used many times is taking little Johnny out back to play baseball for the first time. Hit little plastic bat, little plastic ball, wiffle bat, $1, whatever the price is now, but less than $10 at your box store. And you're going to tell little Johnny that I'm going to throw the ball towards you and you try and swing. And oh, by the way, when we're done, I'm going to tell Mommy how many times you swung and missed. That's trying to win in your demo trading. Versus, Johnny, I want you to swing as much, whatever you think is best. And when we finish, I'm going to go inside and tell Mommy how many times you hit the ball. See, that's how you want your demo trading to be. You don't want there to be consequences if you do the wrong thing. If you feel you're going to there's potential to do the wrong thing. If you feel like you're trying to go for 4% a day in your demo account when you're not ready to go live yet, that puts a pressure on your RAS, and it's not good because your RAS is worried about making mistakes. So what's going to happen is you're giving it instructions to say, don't let me take a trade and fail. And remember the instruction set you give that crew. They're a very loyal crew. One of the ways they're going to ensure that you don't take a trade and fail is not to take a trade at all. Just like little Johnny, if you tell him you're going to measure and tell mom the number of times he swung and missed, he's not going to experiment to see what it takes to hit the ball because his sole focus is what happens if I miss. That's another one he's going to tell mommy about. So you do not want to strive to win in your trading. And if you set any kind of performance goal, whether it's number of pips, whether it's number of trades, whether it's ROI, that totally works against you, not for you. That is the slow path to success. Because at some point, one of two things are going to happen. You're going to have to circle back and relearn, retrain your brain, or you're going to burn out because your success is going to be, you're going to be so inconsistent, you're just going to convince yourself that the Forex doesn't work, or the system you're using doesn't work, or you just don't work as a trader, and you're going to be gone. So you'll either burn out or have to circle back. It's the slowest path is to try and win in your demo trading. Trust me. And just remember little Johnny with the baseball, the psychology. See, we're all humans at the same level. That's why I love, really, not to self-praise, but I love our trader physiology video, because it doesn't matter who you are, what country you're from, male, female, what age, your brain, if you're human, all works the same way. And the mechanisms in it all work the same way. And if you tell little Johnny, or you tell a 25-year-old or a 45-year-old trader wannabe that we're keeping track of what you miss, and you don't have to physically say that to yourself, but that's what your subconscious is going to be understanding. Why keep score if you're not worried about how you lose or how much you lose? Yeah, well, there are some, I think, I did the Ancestry.com thing several years back, and, well, actually I didn't, but I did it for my kids. And, there's that 0.038% Neanderthal. And I'm like, well, that obviously came from your mom's side of the family. But at some point, some people's percentages might be a little bigger than that in some cases, instead of the 0.038 or whatever it was. So no, you don't. It's trust me, it's not the way to go, because you're going to be just like little Johnny. And when you're afraid to swing because you're afraid of getting it wrong, it denies you the opportunity to learn. I mean, it's probably one of the, there's several, but it's probably one of the more significant things that separate me from other educators, is because I'm not anxious for you to open your Excel spreadsheet. Here's my great model, prove it to me that you can demo trade this model for success, because I want you posting all over social media how you just started with this and you're making, 5% a day with Steve's system. That's all about ego of the educator. It's not about what's best for you. Yeah, I know, Clay. I timed it like that for a reason. So, I'm more interested in you learning how to trade. And the way you learn is by learning what not to do. Just like little Johnny, because you told him, little Johnny number 2, you said, I'm just going to tell mommy how many times you hit the ball. Don't worry about how many times you swing. I'm just going to tell her how many times you hit the ball. So give a kid, a 5-year-old, that set of instructions. What are they going to do? They're going to swing at every pitch. They will learn what pitches to spend their time at and swing, and what pitches not to. They will learn that sweet spot, between the knee and the shoulders on their very own. They'll learn what's too far outside and what's too far inside. They will learn by what? Volume of pitches that they swing at, not worrying about the results. Oh yeah. Post your profits. And then, you aren't a trader unless you can show me your $10,000 withdrawal slips. Blah, 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 blah. Don't walk, run. So how do you create the process of learning what not to do? Participate in the groups. Post your trades. With a sense of urgency. Remember, taking a trade isn't the only thing on your journey as a trader. Right? This comes back to a little bit, if I were to dissect Saturday's Friday, I don't remember when I posted it, that podcast on being the CEO. What tasks do I have in trading? If you're going to put goals and measurements together, what tasks do I have in trading? I routinely get asked questions about TradingView. So how many of you could actually, if I say, hey, I'm going to do a special on TradingView on Wednesday's DisruptiveTraders-TV, and I'm going to pick somebody at random, and you're going to have to teach an hour on the charts and answer questions for another half hour. Let me see who I could pick on to do that. Don't take that as an ego challenge. I don't mean it that way. I mean it from, we all have things to learn about TradingView that'll make us better traders. Clay's going, Mackenzie. You just got volunteered, Mackenzie. Okay. What about your self-development? Not just, I've read 4 books. What are you doing with that information? Are you applying it? How are you applying it? We all know knowledge is power. No, knowledge is power when it's applied. But then knowledge is power when it's applied properly. So if author XYZ has a great book and he's got, here's the 13 key, Tim Grover, the 13 steps to being relentless. All of them ranked number 1. Great. Now you know the 13 steps to being relentless. Let me see your notebook where you talk about the action steps you're going to do for each one of those 13 steps to implement it into your daily routine, so you manifest the results by actually using the 13 steps. You've put a system together. You put action steps together. I could pick each little topic, scans, Simple, okay, test question. I want an instant answer. I don't want 10 seconds with you guys Googling. I want an instant answer. So get your hands ready on your keyboard. And it's a 1-word answer. Tell me what is the most successful harmonic pattern. Go. Got some bats. I got some crabs. I got some Gartleys. I got some butterflies. I got some sharks. I got shark and right after it, anything other than shark. Okay. Yeah, completed patterns. There's a good answer, Alex. All right, so cipher. So cipher with quarter theory. So then I ask, where'd you get that information? And then I go, good luck. Monday, you guys are going to get worked. Hope Sweet Pea's in a good mood. Well, Steve told you, which is good. But are you going to be spoon-fed scanner trader? Or are you going to be a stellar scanner trader? Maybe you find some research and say, hey, Steve, what about this? What about that? Steve's quoted, in my training with Quickfire, Charlie Delta, I've quoted Carney's and FX Groundwork Study. Did anybody ever look at the success rates at harmonicpatterns.com for the scanner that we use? And why are those numbers so different than the ones I gave you? Interesting. So there's more to learn. So why do we, as humans, separated from the Neanderthals, why do we as humans think that because we've seen something or whatever that we know it? Where's our desire to expand that knowledge up, down, left, right? So the whole concept of the way I progress as a trader is 99.9999% based on my trading. Many of you wouldn't have as much challenges with your on-chart stuff if your head was better. But anyway, that's the long-winded true answer to the question of how do you proceed with urgency in your demo trading, not worrying about trying to get it right, but just how do I speed up the process of learning what not to do? Yes, distracted by other things we say are not more important, but our actions speak otherwise. Exactly. I see pictures from time to time, or somebody will post something and I'll message them and like, who the hell is that? And it's like, oh, that's so-and-so on Game of Thrones. And I'm like, oh, okay. I know I'm in the 1% of people who don't watch Game of Thrones, right? But yeah, game of what? Thank you. I'm not saying it's not a good show. I'm just saying I don't know how it helps my trading right now. And your goal, if you like Game of Thrones, make your goal not to watch it on TV, not to binge watch it at the end of the season, but go on set while they're filming it. Well, I know it's ending though, right? Is that what I've heard? But that would be my position. Let me go trade hard for 2 years, sacrificing watching that weekly, so I could actually go on set and watch them film. I mean, if I'm going to be a fan, be a super fan, my gosh. So you're absolutely right, Mackenzie. We talk big when we sit down with somebody like here, hey, let's exchange some ideas on your dreams and your goals. And yet, when we look at them, our actions prove otherwise in terms of their priority to us. And that's exactly inside your world of trading. That's exactly what goes on. Now, look, I understand some of you are not full in trading because it's one of several things you're doing. Maybe it's one of 5, 6, 7 side hustles, as the phrase is overly used now, that you have going on. And, nothing wrong with that if that's your plan. But I'm talking to people who have selected the Forex as their priority-based financial vehicle. Then you need a plan that reflects that. Well, that's a given requirement. You need to examine your action steps to ensure it. Well, it's funny. Yeah, I saw a little meme the other day. I can't quite remember it because it was so to the negative. Even though it made me laugh, I didn't want to clip it and even keep it on my phone or my computer. But it was something to the effect of, "Man, I'm really exhausted today. I found, I don't know how it went, but it was like I found so many ways to end up having done nothing by the end of the day," or something to that effect. And you just have to laugh at it a little. But I'm trying to see who said that. Was that Rob? Yeah. It is difficult to develop good habits. We started to talk about this the other day because what ends up happening is, see, the good thing about going nowhere or making very little progress, if you're honest, and you could see that you have a lot of bad habits, coming home at the end of the tired day and plopping down in your easy chair or sofa and, a bottle of wine, shots of tequila, whatever it is, or other stuff, watch some mindless, I'm going to watch something just for an hour to veg a little. Next thing you know, it's bedtime, right? So you can, and then how quickly a routine becomes a habit. For the most part, we're ruled more by bad habit than we are good habit. That's what self-development, self-growth is all about, is reframing the habits that you have. But it's not something you can look at in its that's standalone, that's independent. There's interdependencies along a lot of other things. Like, it's easy to have bad habits if you have no dreams. They go hand in hand. Doesn't matter what the dream is. It could be money, it could be health, it could be fitness, relationships, number of spiritual sides. There's a number of things we can put focus on our dreams. But if you don't have any, then you're not going to be driven to do the work. And then even with dreams, you got to do the work to reduce them to goals. And then you have to have measurement systems for the goals. And very often we realize that, it's been the one good thing of the internet. I have, my friend Gemma, who's a psychologist, we've talked about this a couple of times now, about how people settle into habits, one, out of comfort, right? Because growth requires change, and change requires discomfort. You have to go out of your comfort loop. And your comfort zone, what you think is your comfort zone, is your familiar zone. And whatever patterns you set can become habit really fast. Just so fast. I mean, it's always been 21 days. And, as I've said, more modern neuroscience research has said you're probably closer to 66 than you are 21 to make a complete habit switch. And there are, John Assaraf and others will say it could be as much as 365 days to create a habit. It just depends on how entrenched you are in the prevailing opposing habit. If you're going to add a new habit that's just a complement to something you're already very routine and systemized and habitualized in, that add-on habit is not nearly as hard in terms of duration to get there as it is for habits that are in the opposing direction. So if you don't have a dream and you haven't reduced it to goals, and you haven't reduced those goals to a monthly, weekly, daily plan, kind of what the podcast was about in some ways, then guess what? Anything is going to distract you. And people know that about you. Marketers know that about you. Hell, ESPN knows that about you. Otherwise, there wouldn't be 77 ESPN channels. ESPN High Def. Oh, I don't want to watch that. ESPN, this, ESPN that. So you end up, flailing is a good word, floating, just, you're that stick in the river. Whichever way the current and the wind's blowing, that's where you're going to go. Because there's no rudder on your ship. And so, you don't just change a habit. Like I said, there's interdependencies. You might wish it, but as Mackenzie says, our actions will speak louder than words. So you're fighting many, many currents, to use that metaphor or analogy, when you don't have a dream, when you don't have the strong passion and emotion attached to achieving the dream, so you don't have a why. You don't have it reduced to a goal. You don't have a monthly, weekly, daily plan. So of course, when you come home tonight and you're tired and you're beat, not suggesting you aren't, there's what's pushing you to do something other than plopping down in the chair, drinking a six-pack, and vegging behind a series of TV shows. What's the consequence if you don't? There is none. But now you're just this Stepford wife / android. Where's your fulfillment coming from? Well, if you get into issues with your significant other, I do suggest I always used to talk in terms of husband and wife, but really significant other. It could be long-standing couples, doesn't matter. Doing the things like the dream sheets together from Goalmaker. It's always a big reveal. And to understand what his dreams really are and understand what her dreams really are, doesn't mean they have to be on the same page, but you have to understand that your partner has as much ambition or desire or wish for their dream as you do. And so the way you really succeed is to create the old mutual back scratching society, being supportive, being the cheerleader, that they need. It makes such a difference. It makes such a huge difference. To have somebody cheer for you in a sincere way, not patronizing you, but sincerely for whatever it is. And, I mean, I've had this conversation with Dallas several times, and I know there's no technically right answer, but just dream a little. What is the overriding need that a human has? To be liked, to be loved, acceptance, to be loved, security, the need to feel a part of something, to be loved, right? When you get down to it, and again, there's 1,001 ways to show love. Let's not get into Tony Robbins and auditory, kinetic, visual, blah, blah, blah. But tomato soup, chicken soup, I love those conversations. But isn't loved a subset of feeling significant? Because that's what feeling loved is, right? Makes you feel significant. And so you can do little things to show other humans they're significant, and they walk off with the sense of love. And I'm not always speaking, romantic love. I'm just, you're loved as another person. Feeling significant. So think about, and then of course, Rachel always talks about you can't love others until you love yourself. Self-love is very important. Some people see self-love as being selfish. Oh, it's time to put you above everybody else. Well, really, to care and love for other people, under the premise you have to love yourself first. Doing things for you to show you that you count will help you do a better job of helping others and loving others. But in that sense of, if a sense of significance is one of the bigger drivers for the human condition from the deep in our souls, what are you doing for yourself by sitting on your sofa instead of working towards a big dream? What are you saying about your significance? What are you, what's one part of you saying to the other part of you? You're saying you really don't matter. You're saying you're not worthy of great things. And guess what? When you say it, you start to believe it. You're not worth the effort. And so what, Noah St. John will say, your comfort zone isn't a comfort zone, it's a familiar zone. And more often than not, it's actually more painful to stay in your comfort zone than it is to leave it. We don't see it that way. We feel challenged by the slightest disruption to our comfort zone. I'm right back, right? Got to get right back to it. So a lot of what we see as our actual habits, when Mackenzie says our actions speak otherwise, when we're honest with ourselves and we see the habits that we're actually executing, that we're actually living our life, and this is why a lot of people will nod, give lip service to planning and all, and there isn't hardly anybody that's strong on planning today that doesn't talk about what Goalmaker had 20 years ago. What 3 things am I going to achieve today? Now, in more modern talk, a little Rachel's influence on me. What 3 things am I going to do today to add value to the world? See, it's not just about me. This goes back to Zig Ziglar, and the more people you help get what they need, the better off you're going to be, right? Not so contrived. What 3 things am I going to do today to add value to the world? And then at the end of the day, did I do those 3 things? And if not, why not? We've talked about metacognition before, being aware of what you're thinking. How about being aware of your actions? This is the purpose of journaling. This is the purpose of having a planner that asks those questions and you actually working with it. It is a personal accountability. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people stay in their rut and won't consider trading because they know what it is they do and it's familiar and safe. So always looking at, and that Lee Miltier started me on that. That goes back to the mid 90s. I won't say it too long ago. On your what to do, the end day review. And if you find consistency there, gee, this is a fourth day in a row this week that I didn't get the 3 things done today that I said I needed to get done. What the heck's going on? What happened to my day that it got away? You just slid back into some sort of habit, some pattern, some system you have at place because it's your comfort zone. We're working on a new planner. I'm going to have a new planner. We'd really, really, really hoped to get it out this past November, but now it's a mad rush to see if it'll be for the end of 2020. I've got, last count, it was close to 60, but I'm probably sure it's about 53 by title. And just bought another 2 last week. Planners. Taking what I already know and taking the best of the best. There's not one out there yet that does the whole thing. I'd like to be that one. But it's going to have to be, the trouble is people have genericized what a planner is, and to have a planner that properly attacks monthly, weekly, daily, still allows you to set appointments, allows you to do reflection, challenges you with things to do, as you start the day to set your plan, gives you the opportunity to review the day at the end of the day, is not $9.95. Yeah, exactly. It's big enough it has to have wheels on it. There's ways it can be done. Staying away from digital too. But the problem is, it's only the people who have done it that get the value in it, who then realize the cost of it is insignificant compared to their gains. The people who genericize what a planner is, for the most part, what they call a planner is just appointment setting. And yes, you can get that for $9.95. So, anyway, didn't mean to get so tangent. I digress. But anyway, that's why habits are formed, because there's nothing driving it to where there wouldn't be bad habits. Yeah, I got to go in a few minutes too myself, Henry. You too, Perry. A couple of you have to go. So, I've really only had one strong question, and I think I've answered it, maybe. But even like this, people don't want to listen to this stuff. The number of triangles I have, meaning you have stuff other than listening to go to. And I know it's not visual, but if you're doing other stuff visually, your RAS is not 100% here. And the GoToWebinar has that feature, so it helps the speaker understand when they're on topic and not on topic, potentially. But it also reflects when people don't agree with the agenda and they'd rather be doing something else. Yes, look, the reality is there's truth in that. I don't care whether it's trading or, house flipping or network marketing or selling necklaces or whatever. generally the rule of thumb is the haters never make as much money as the person they're hating on. So you then have to understand what causes that. It's rare to see a hater so as to come out with outright negative. Because first of all, somebody that's already successful and making a lot of money, they know better than to ridicule in public. They know that's not how you treat other people. It's just a life, a personal skill. Now, look, it's different if the person says, this is what I'm doing, this is how I've done it, I'm open to suggestion. That's a different story for people to critique them. But for people to just go on somebody's public post and give negative commentary on what it is they're doing, there's a reason for it. It's all psychological. So it's either outright envy, it's outright, how dare you be successful and I'm not? How dare you succeed in that venture when I've tried it and I haven't been? Yeah, it's a defensive mechanism of sorts. And the other thing is, yeah, Todd said it exactly. Successful people don't really spend their day on Facebook looking for things to hate. They spend their time otherwise. If somebody's hating on you, it's like, yeah, well, again, most of it, look, there have been and there are, lots of Forex ventures that either didn't work out or were intentionally misleading, or however you want to say it. But we know the reality. There's no hiding the reality that 95% don't make it. That doesn't say 95% can't make it. It says 95% won't make it. But that's more on the individual than it is the Forex. That's more on the individual than it is trading. And I don't mean that to sound negative or derogatory, but that's where persistent comes in. If you've decided you're going to succeed with the Forex, then you persist with it, you will find a way. It's only when you succumb to the haters, when you succumb to them, somehow their hatred, their negative comments somehow bridges into your belief system. All of a sudden, you take their word for real as factual, and now you're trying to buck the system. Right? No. I remember my very, very, very first entrepreneurial effort, not first, because, I was cutting grass and doing stuff like that as a young teenager, but talking about my first adult encounter with entrepreneurialism, I actually was doing some research with the director of the Entrepreneur Center at Old Dominion University here in Virginia. And they had a real strong entrepreneurial center with an incubator for startups and a lot of other cool things. But he gave me some good statistics, and I remember the first time I used it was on my mom because she was just horrified, I was going to go into the entrepreneurial world because that's not something she had ever encountered. But she had heard enough that she could quote me, 80% of the businesses, die in the first year, whatever it was that she threw out. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, but did you know that almost 85% of the businesses that had a sound business plan are still here 5 years later? Yeah, it's like Rhonda Patrick. I quote her very often on the health side. She's just a brilliant researcher and unbiased. And she was talking about, I think I've mentioned this before, she was talking about a study about certain kinds of meat, certain kinds of red meat, with the study group ending up with high percentages of lung cancers. And she looked at the studies, the underlying studies, and found out that in the group that had higher than normal lung cancer by eating red meat, some huge percentage, like 92% of them, were smokers. So it's like my mom wanted to get cute with statistics. And I was like, well, yeah, that's true about failure. But those that do a business plan, 85% are still there 5 years later. That's true, Chuck. Yeah, go watch some of Rhonda. Get you some Rhonda Patrick. She'll set you straight on research and studies and health. Because I saw one of our trader friends post something over the weekend. It just made me laugh because it was the same kind of reality. Yeah, she's very good. So the habit, you have to have good habits in order to succeed. And that's why I said it's all interrelated, because if you don't have solid dreams, you haven't reduced them to plans, you don't orchestrate the plans, you don't do what you need to do to build yourself to grow, to push, to get outside the envelope of the comfort zone, the boundaries, the barriers, however you want to do it, label it, then it's so easy to have bad habits. There's nothing left. It's the default mechanism. Human, default, bad habits. And, go-to stuff you've seen. I don't have to repeat it, but, the reason I have a book of wisdom, the reason I write quotes down is because I go back and review that sucker every month. And some of the quotes that I love, just become more ingrained in my memory. Because what? Repetition. And then there's ones I wrote down 2, 5, 7, 10 years ago that I'm like, reading it now for the 100th time puts a new slant on the quote. And I was going to rattle off something you've seen, and now I can't remember what it is. The reality is successful people, achievers, do the things that non-achievers won't do. And they don't like to do them anymore. They just do them. Therein is the key. Yeah, it's been stated in many ways. I'm not sure we can ever give an attribute to whoever first phrased it, because it's been used in many different forms, and I like that. Sometimes I'll see a quote and I'll search it, and 3 or 4 of the words are changed, and that's attributed to somebody. Eleanor Roosevelt said this. No, it was really Martin Luther King. No, it was really Aristotle. Whatever. But yeah, it's doing the stuff other people won't do, and you don't like doing it, and you don't want to do it either, but you still get it done. Yeah. This is the David Goggins, Rich Roll, at the point where everybody else quits, you just keep going. Be it physical, be it mental, be it emotional. Because that's what needs to be done. And it's all got to be like that. All of that, all of the efforts, all of the habits, all of the tasks have to be at that level. Because otherwise, if you do something where you're only, my dad used to say hitting on all, 8 back then, hitting on all 8 cylinders, right? Meaning the engine's perfectly running. It's not running on 6 or 7 and misfiring or just running rough. Because if you have some things that you're going really, really, really hard on and others that you're not, you could burn out on the stuff you're going hard on because it's not enough to get there. All things have to be running at that level. Well, yeah, but at the end of the day, that's true. The habit will get you there, and this is why you have to have the belief that it will. And this is where an understanding of the compounding effect comes in, where you understand that micro goals accumulated over time are bigger goals, and bigger goals accumulated over time are grand goals, But if you don't get the compounding effect, oh, I read it. I know you read it. Did you get it? Sit down. We talk about looking in the mirror as the CEO review. Sitting down and asking yourself, list 10 ways I'm putting the compound effect today in my life this week. Not asking you, are you doing all the right stuff in your own mind? I'm saying, what are you doing to make sure the compound effect is at work in your life right now? What little things do you do day in, day out that have no seemingly measurable gain, but because of your understanding of the compound effect or the slight edge, they are making a gain, and it helps motivate you to continue to do them because you're making progress even though you can't see it. Everybody else who doesn't understand the compounding effect at that level, they understand compounding. They had it in 8th grade math or whatever, But yet they don't, as Mackenzie said, I keep coming back to that quote, their actions speak differently. I've tried to stay personality-wise out of the trading world because I'm not ego-driven, so it doesn't, when I do bring my personality to it or my name to it, it's for branding purposes only. It's not for ego. Yeah, bodybuilding, dieting, etc. But I can't speak enough how compounding is so important. This is why people don't read 4 books a month, is because their lack of understanding of the compound effect. Oh, look at me. I didn't read my 28 pages yesterday, and I'm no different today. So therefore, your subconscious mind wins the argument. It doesn't matter if I do my reading today or not, because I'm not a different person. I did it yesterday, I didn't do it yesterday, and today I'm still the same person. I guess I don't have to do it today, and I could watch the rerun of Game of Thrones. It's only when you understand the true nature of compounding that helps you push when everybody else quits. Having a sense of urgency is about understanding the relationship between momentum and compounding. And that we do have a fuse, talk about other things that are just native to humans, not Americans, to humans. We have a burnout period, even for highly motivated, even for big dreamers and big planners and big doers. We have burnouts. And there's no knowing what that is. And so the sense of urgency and momentum is all about, like I said, you can watch Game of Thrones for the next 10 years or whatever the show is, or you can work really hard for 2 and then start your own show. Start your own Dancing with the Stars. Start your own trivia game show, whatever it is that you spend your time watching. Well, there again, Mackenzie's talking about the punitive side. We talk about setting celebrations and rewards for achieving stuff. And we've talked, previously about setting punishment for not achieving goals too, or at least a certain percentage of the goal. But then you have to be, that CEO has to really execute the tough love. That CEO has to say, you said if you didn't get this done this week, no Starbucks next week. And so as you're driving past Starbucks, you got to have the discipline to say, nope, not going to do it. Because if you set a punishment and you don't carry it out, then the punishment's, that's no different than disciplining children or your dog or whatever, Reward, reward, reward. There's a few things you have to, just don't do this, Your 16-year-old has a 10 o'clock curfew and you don't hear from them. They come pulling in the driveway at 12:30 at night. And it wasn't an emergency. It wasn't a bizarro thing that kept them. It was just, their social life was so enjoyable and distracting to them that they forgot to come home on time. Well, next week you can't go out. Next week you don't have car key privileges. After the Titanic trade, I thought about quitting, but not for very long. Lori was good at that. Oh, I know where I was going with my name out there. So, in 16 years, I only really have one thing. Well, 2 now, if I want to be more technical. But at a big picture level, I only really talk and preach 2 laws of trading. One is Lori's law, and one is Gregor's law. Lori, a trader friend from long ago, and her law is essentially all about RAS. It was just pre-RAS understanding. And Gregor's law is pretty simple, and that is if we have a set path, if we have a set step process, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D, E, that if you try and multiple choice the steps, I like A, B, and D, but I'm not going to do C and E because I just don't like to, because it takes me out of my comfort zone, then you're probably not going to find success. So you can't multiple step stuff. And this is why the interdependencies of things regarding habits they're all just part of this multiple step thing. You've got to have the big dream. You've got to have the what that really moves you. You've got to have the passion in sensing what it feels like to achieve it. So you're really driven to, that's the why. People misuse that. I've talked about that enough. The why is not the dream. The why is the feeling you get having achieved the dream. It's your passion. The dream is your purpose. And then we've got to understand planning. I have traders who actually step up and are honest and say to me, I don't know anything about goal planning. I've never done it before. In terms of guiding their life. they've had a project here or a project there at work or whatever, but I'm talking about in the same context we're talking about. So you have to be good at goal planning. You have to be good at organization. You have to be good at management. You have to be MacGyver. You have to be the Google researcher. You have to be the entrepreneur. You have to be Magellan, the discoverer. You've got to be the CEO. You've got to be the chief psychology officer. Orchestrating, planning, managing, executing the head game efforts that you take. It's all multi-step. You can't skip these steps because you don't like them and still expect it to work. Which is why I laugh at, so many traders that just believe self-development is something they could skip. That's the biggest hunk. Well, we did spend some time in mindset mastery. Unfortunately, some of that was back at IML. I do believe some people have recordings of that. But we did spend 2 or 3 sessions on goal planning. We could do it again. Don't mind it. Just saying. All right, so we really only had one technical question tonight. My apologies for not having an agenda, but covered some important stuff. Hopefully you got some value out of it. Yeah, somebody said podcast part 2. Kinda, sorta, huh? Soapbox Monday. Okay, I'm getting a lot of requests for some goal planning sessions. Cool. That's one of my pet areas of specialty that I spend a lot of time in. All right, so with that, I'm going to shut it down, guys, because even though it's been a long day, I've got another meeting in 7 minutes. So with that, I will remind you, life can be short and sometimes even shorter than that. So remember, for those people you care and love, reach out to them, let them know you care about them, let them know you love them. Remember what you're doing when you just, out of the blue, text somebody, message somebody, write somebody, handwrite them a card, send them flowers, whatever you do, you're doing something to make them feel significant. And that is the greatest feeling in the world. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Facebook land before then, but for sure on Wednesday. Y'all take care. Bring some people on Wednesday. I'll advertise it. I want to get the numbers back up where they were. All right, y'all take care.